Morning, folks. Random Todd here, smacking on some gum. It's Thursday. I'm headed to work. The sun's actually out, and it's starting to get lighter in the morning, so I can actually film something. When the sun's not out, it's too damn dark. You can't even see anything. This is light. Running a little late this morning. Oh well. They'll forgive me. But yeah, hey, I shot that video showing you the Zombie Army trilogy. I know not that many of you probably watch very much of it or whatever, but it's actually really cool. I haven't really progressed in it any farther. It's just working long hours in the evening. I just don't feel like playing anything. So really, the only time I've been even thinking about playing games was, on the weekend, and it hasn't really been something I go to because I usually find something else I want to do. So, watched a couple movies. Nothing too spectacular. I mean, I don't know. I watched Joker. I thought it was good. It's definitely dark. I don't really know how I feel about how it fits into the Batman universe, but I mean, it definitely tags Batman pretty hard in a couple of ways. Aside from the fact that they're in Gotham City, that's a big thing, well, not a big thing, but that's a thing from the beginning. They say that it's Gotham City, and other than that, they don't hit it too hard, but there are some characters that come up and something that happens. It's almost, if anything, once again, a little bit of an origin story for both Batman and Joker, but the Batman stuff is way underplayed. And you don't understand whether the Arthur guy, that's the guy's name, Arthur Fleck, is the true Joker, or if he's just somebody that started something that sparked something in somebody else to become the Joker, or what. Half the movie, you're not even sure whether or not he's not dreaming a lot of this stuff that's going on. So yeah, but I'm not gonna spoil too much of it. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just there are parts of it that you're just not sure. It's like, is this really happening? I mean, you're thinking that when you're watching it. So, but that's all I'll say. I won't spoil anything, and it's good especially if you like. It's not really even a comic book movie per se. It doesn't really feel like one. So if you just like a kind of a strange look into like somebody that might have a psychosis, I mean, it's almost even good from that angle as well. So I enjoyed it, and I really did like it. Now I also watched Terminator Dark Fate, and I was a little disappointed in that one, just from the fact that I felt like they really didn't make a true new story. It just felt like they borrowed elements from a bunch of the other Terminator movies. Like, we'll pull this one element from this one, and this one from this, and this from this, and just slap together a new Terminator movie, and then threw Arnold and Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor back into it to draw in people, and they do a good job. But I mean, the story is a little lackluster, and I don't know. I just didn't really dig it as much as I thought I maybe would. I've said it time and again, I think, and I might be in the minority, but I like Terminator Salvation, and I thought they should have just continued the fight with Skynet in that future, you know, just kept having movies taking place in the future, not keep sending people back in time over and over and over and over, and just deal with Skynet and taking it down the way it is, you know. But like I said, I mean, they did a good. The acting was pretty good. That it's eye candy for sure, as far as like you know, the Terminator effects and things like that. But they could have did a little bit better job in writing a story for it. That's all I'm saying. But if you like Terminators, I mean, it's watchable. I mean, it's watchable in the way that I enjoyed it enough that I would watch it again. It's kind of in my lower rung of Terminator movies. I mean, if I had to rank the Terminator movies, I would put Terminator 1 and then 2 at the top. Most people might even put Terminator 2 ahead of 1. I don't. Terminator 1, then 2, then Salvation, then the Genesis, really, the one with the girl that was in Game of Thrones, and then T3, and this one probably on about the same level. Like, they're not horrible, I would watch them, but they're not my go-to, you know, Terminator flicks. So, yeah. I really like the T2 Director's Cut edition that's got, like, some extra scenes in it. And the story is fleshed out a little better. And it shows more of the T2, the T-1000's kind of abilities and stuff, and how he can mimic things and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just felt like more of a rounded movie. Like at the end, I mean, if you haven't seen the director's cut, you can check it out. You've probably seen T2, so it's not going to really spoil anything. But you know, at the end when Arnold, when the T-1000 gets frozen at the smelting plant or whatever, and then he shoots it and goes, "Hasta la vista, baby," and it breaks into a bunch of pieces. Well, when those pieces come back together, it causes the Terminator, it is starting to break down a little bit. It starts glitching a little bit more, like when he's touching certain things, you can see how it, you know, when he grabs the railing, it like, he kind of takes on the colors of the railing and stuff, and has to kind of like almost pull his arm, like it's suction to it a little bit off of the railing and stuff. And that's why when you see, I think in T2, in the original one, it's that way as well, but when he looks like Sarah Connor, and then the other one comes up, or the real Sarah Connor shows up, and they're both standing there, and John has to figure out which one is which. In the movie, in the director's cut for sure, he's kind of glitched to the grating, so you can kind of see the grating on his feet, and that's why John can tell the difference. So yeah. There's also a little bit more with the Miles Dyson character, a couple scenes and things like that. So I recommend the director's cut version of T2 for sure. Sometimes those director's cuts really aren't that great. Like, I watched the Alien 3 director's cut and was kind of confused because I had seen the original, and there's a few different things in the Alien 3 one. Like in the director's cut, there's no like pit bull dog or whatever dog. And no, it's not a pit bull. It's like a one of those other Doberman or something. Dogs. that the prisoners have, and that's what the alien phase hugger gets a hold of and ends up, you know, birthing the alien. Well, in the director's cut, it's not the dog's not even in it ever, and you're like, what's going on? You know, I was like, where's this dog? You know, I hadn't seen the director's cut before, and I started watching it, and I was like, what happened? Where's that dog at? You know, and what's this deal with this? And you know, I was like, I don't know. And then at the end of the director's cut, when she falls back into the hot, you know, molten metal and stuff, in the director's cut, the alien does not burst out of her chest as she's falling, which I was kind of like, what? You know, but I don't know. I just didn't dig that director's cut as much as the original, I guess. So the director's cuts are not always better, in my opinion. Trying to think what else. Those are more recent movies that I just watched. I also watched a movie that I had never seen called The Equalizer with Denzel Washington, and I thought that was pretty cool. He's definitely like worked for the government or something and has a skill set, and is trying to like it's like he tried to get out of it or faked his own death or something, and ends up kind of getting hooked back in through some people that he kind of grows attached to or meets through normal life, into doing things and almost falling back into a agent kind of role. But some of the stuff he does takes place off camera, which I found kind of different, you know, because some of the people he takes out right on camera and this and that, and other ones you just see something and you see him do something, and then you come back and you know he did something, but they didn't show it. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was kind of neat. I know they made a second one. That's why I watched the first one. It's because I was watching some YouTube videos and they were like previewing the second one before some, you know, some ad before something I was watching started. And I was like, oh, this Equalizer 2 looks pretty good. And I was like, well, I better watch the first one. So I did. So I thought it was pretty damn good. Other than that, the only other thing that I really watched through is The Mandalorian Season One. I watched through that, and that is kick-ass in my opinion. I have not seen Rise of Skywalker. I am not spoiled on Rise of Skywalker, but I haven't seen it. And I really didn't have a big... when it the first week or two it came out, I kind of wanted to go see it. But then after a little bit, I was just like, yeah, I don't really care. You know, I mean, it's just, I don't know. The movies progressively fell off for me. It's like Force Awakens, there was a hype. I'm like, oh, they're doing a 7th movie, awesome. And I watched it, and I went the day it opened and took the day off and went to the show. And I thought it was pretty good. And then you know, certain people died and certain things happened, and then the second one comes along and it's a little more of a grind for me to watch it, you know. And I actually didn't go to the theater to watch it, and I waited till it came home, and I, you know, picked it up and I watched it, and I was like, and then more people died and some more stuff happened, and I'm just like, what? You know, some of it I was like, why'd they make this story choice and why'd they make that story choice? And it was just like, because I always felt like, and I don't know about the third movie, but I always felt like the best story arc would have been if Kylo realized he was on the wrong side and came back to the light, and that Rey went bad, and Kylo and or Ben, you know, and Luke had to go bring her back to the light side. You know what I'm saying? I always thought that would have been a better story, in my opinion. And they wouldn't have had to kill Luke, and they wouldn't have had to, I don't know. I had my own movie in my head after I watched the first one. And I was just like, when the second one came out, I was like, oh man. So, I haven't been hyped. But The Mandalorian, aside from the little baby Yoda that has permeated everything, which it's not Baby Yoda. I mean, my uncle watched it too because I talked him into it, and then he was confused and thought it really was Baby Yoda. And I go, it's not really Baby Yoda, it's one of his kind. Because he thought it took place a long time ago when Yoda was a baby. And I was like, no. I go, no, it happened about 20 years after Return of the Jedi. I said, it's not actually Baby Yoda, you know. But the show underplays a lot of the effects and really keeps it grounded, and you really feel for the characters themselves versus just, you know, the spectacle of it. So, I recommend The Mandalorian wholeheartedly. So anyway, we arrived at work. I mainly talked about shows and movies, but that's something. And we're going to get out of here. And we'll talk to you later. I hope you have a good day. And I was happy the sun's actually out. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.